Be honest with yourself for a second. How much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? That question came up again and again at Insights EDU last year. You guys already know this isn't your typical higher ed conference. And I've got to be honest, I've been to a lot of higher ed events, and Insights EDU is just different. The conversations are direct, the sessions are outstanding, and the people in the room are there to fix real problems, not defend the status quo. That's why Insights EDU 2026 matters. It's 3 days in Fort Lauderdale, February 17 to 19, focusing on real strategy for higher ed. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. You can keep wasting time with what feels safe, or you can get in the room where smarter decisions are being made. Register today at insightsedu.com.
You just made the list!
Ellucian Live 2026, April 19th through 22nd in beautiful Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher education leaders from around the world are coming together at Ellucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.ellucian.com. It's going to be
amazing.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to add up on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. Dr. Joe Sallustio back with you on another episode. And, you know, I was doing this for a while, and then I stopped because Elvin Freites, co-founder of the EdUp Experience podcast, is like, you don't need to keep saying it over and over again. But apparently I do. I want to remind the audience that Elvin and I in the EdUp Experience, we publish articles now on our website on EdUp editorials to give our guests, our listeners, space. If they have an op-ed they want to write, if they have something about their university that they want to highlight, we're publishing those episodes. We're pushing them out to our worldwide podcast audience and giving people another place to get out information that they think is important. And that's another service that we provide as part of the EdUp Experience, growing media empire, the EdUp Experience that we have going on. Take advantage of it, everybody. If you're listening, write an article, tell us what's good, what's going on in higher ed, and we'll get it out there for you. I'm really excited to talk with my guest today because this is exactly why we do this podcast, why we started doing this, because it is really hard to tell a story of an institution when there are A, so many institutions in the U.S., and B, so many people that are talking negatively about higher education. It's hard to get out that one message from the one institution, and really hard to get it out without a microphone. So we bring the microphone, we bring the audience, and the presidents that we interview bring their institution, and hopefully you can amplify that message. We've got an amazing president with us here today. She's got one of the coolest names in higher education. I'm going to bring her in right now. Ladies and gentlemen, she's Dr. Janine Diddle-Uzi. She's the president of Thomas College. What's going on, Janine? How are you?
I'm doing great, and appreciate a little name recognition. I've lived with this name for a long time, and I've learned to love it. So yeah,
you should. There's so many. Anybody's name can be. So I would get Sallustio. If my last name's pronounced Sallustio, and I lived near this gardens. It was called Celestial Gardens or Celestial.
Oh yeah.
And people would call me and go, "Oh, are you the garden person?" I'm like, "No, I'm not that person." So it's good to have a unique name because you get that recognition, like you said, and it's
Absolutely.
more important that we get recognition, even for Thomas College, where you lead. So tell us all about. So where are you? Where's Thomas College? Who do you serve, and how do you serve them?
Well, Thomas College is located in beautiful central Maine. We are in the Kennebec Valley. In fact, our campus is bordered on one side by the Kennebec River. So I usually start my day with a nice run through our Sioux Forth Family Trail system, and I look down on the river, and it's gorgeous.
That's nice.
Yeah, we are a small community, and that works very well for our students, many of whom are first generation. We are a career-focused liberal arts college, but our roots are in business and education. So we have long histories in business. We were founded as a business school. But today we offer English and we offer forensic science, we offer biology, we offer health sciences. So we've really grown in our 130-ish year history into a college with wide academic offerings. We are private and we're residential. Our residence halls right now are about 93% full, so we've got a lot of
pretty good
students.
To get over 90, by the way.
It's
like,
great.
It takes effort.
Well, and you don't want to get much over 95 because then if roommates don't get along, there's no wiggle room. So we're small, we're mighty, and we have an excellent reputation in the state of Maine for producing the kind of engaged employees that our business community really needs. And we're starting to expand that reputation outside Maine as well.
That's great. By the way, I just like that point about full dorms. It's so many people that don't understand the gymnastics around that. So first of all, it's like a jigsaw puzzle doing dorms and rooms and there's people out there that go, well, if you're not 100% full in your dorms, you're probably under financial trouble. And it's like, no, you'll be surprised how many students go and they'll have a medical note. They need to live by themselves. They have dietary restrictions and can't live with other students. And all of a sudden your 2-person dorm room turns into a 1-person dorm room. And then that a part of capacity? Is that full? Right. So there's ways to fill the rooms and there's a way to cut up rooms. And so the fact that you're at 93% and that's the way that you're looking at it, that's a huge, I think that's a sign of health in my mind.
Absolutely.
What do you think about it? I mean, we don't think about something like that metric wise, but that's a sign of good financial health.
It's a sign of good health. It's a sign of it. It also, I think it's maybe not as widely known in the wider community, but residence life really is a retention driver. So when you have your students living on campus, when they are meeting their friends in the halls and the dining center, that does make your campus, as a friend of mine and advising used to say, stickier. So residence life and good residence experiences on campus do make the institution more sticky, and students who live in the residence halls tend to be retained. So I'm delighted that the students are here. It also makes the campus feel more vibrant. The stands are packed when our soccer team is in the national championships, or so it's great. Yeah, they're getting there. They're in the finals in our NAC conference Saturday afternoon.
Wow, amazing!
The small ish liberal private arts college has come under really scrutiny. I mean, we've had some closures, and then all of a sudden you have a couple closures, and then someone goes, well, then every single school that's under X amount of students, 3,000, whatever it is in trouble. I think the better way to talk about this is in reverse. Is what makes Thomas College distinctive that is going to sustain you for the next 139, I think you said 130-ish, yeah. 30-ish years, 130 years. What is that value proposition that you bring the students that make them choose Thomas College?
Well, one of the benefits that I inherited from my predecessor was a laser focus on career. So we often will, in a group of students, many of whom are from Maine, raise your hand if you were born with a trust fund. And you can imagine very few hands go up. So we know that, and the institution has known for years, that our students have to go and support themselves after college. Mm-hmm. So I inherited a community and an educational mission that is focused on career for every single student. So when I talk to parents and families, I say, if your child wants to be an English major, absolutely, they should be an English major. And we will require them to be in an internship in a profession that will give them a career pathway. So we have at the college a guaranteed job program, and we have a 99% career placement rate across the board. So when people say to me, which happens all the time, why should students go to college today? It's so expensive. What's the value of a college education? There is, ample data that exists that if you have a college degree, your long-term earning power is better. Your health outcomes are better. All of those good
I think
things.
it's even ample is like an understatement for how much data there is around it. And,
Absolutely.
And, somehow it just like people will go, well, the facts don't matter, but the data.
Well, at Thomas, we do have a reputation for placing students in careers quickly, and all of our students. So we do require internships of every student at the college who is in the School of Arts and Sciences, because those degrees don't have the same kind of career pathway that accounting has, or that cybersecurity has. So when you're in an English major or a political science major, we are going to wrap around you with those supports that make sure, yes, you do know where you're going after graduation. And if it's not into a job, then it's into a graduate program.
I see on your site, 80% of students are completing an internship. That's a high stat.
It's way above the national average, and it's because we require it. We require it of the students who might not take an internship. All of our education majors, of course, are in their field placements. They're doing student teaching, and all of our business and accounting majors are in those internships anyway. So by requiring the internship of all students in every major, the arts and sciences, also, we push that internship rate up. And we do have an excellent professional and career development center. We have a cohort of career navigators who are peer students who are,
is that what you call
exactly,
them,
career navigators. These are peers who help their fellow students figure out what should be on my resume, and can you do a mock interview with me, and what careers could I explore if I'm a political science major. But, students listen to their peers a lot more readily than they want to listen to, an administrator or sometimes even their faculty. They feel really comfortable in those peer-to-peer relationships. So we try to leverage those anywhere, whether it's, career support or whether it's academic support. We have peer learning tutors. So the peer-to-peer help is magical for this age group. And most of our students are that traditional 18 to 22-year-old.
Most of your students are?
They are, yes.
Excuse me for a minute. I'm a little under the weather.
But well, you don't seem it. You have plenty of energy.
No, it doesn't stop the show. I'll just choke on the side while you're talking. That's usually what's happening. But the 18 to 20, you talk about the 18 to 22-year-old, the traditional student going to college. That's your declining demographic. So schools have to be really, really good about defining that value proposition, which you just talked about, which is the connection to work, right? So you were well placed when the pendulum sort of swung, right, from education because everybody goes to school to, okay, wait a minute, what am I getting out of this now? Am I getting a degree? Are you seeing students come to you with more specific questions about what do I get versus I'm not sure what I want to do? Is that ROI conversation really happening for an 18-year-old, or is it their parents?
It really depends on the student. I will say, because of Thomas's reputation as career focused, we do, bless you, because Thomas has that reputation of being career focused, we do tend to get students who are very driven and very directed in their course of study. So we're small enough that during orientation weekend, I shake the hand of every single new student who comes to campus. And I ask them, why are you here? How did you find us? All those things. And many of them will say, I'm here because I want to be an accountant. And it's kind of shocking to hear an 18-year-old just be so driven like that. Yeah. But there are plenty of students who say, well, I really came here because I had a great connection with a lacrosse coach. And that's where, great, you're here for lacrosse, but what are we going to do? What outcome are you seeking? Thomas also offers a 3-year bachelor's program, which is unusual. Not one of these new 3-year programs that are meant for adults. Not a 90 credit.
Okay, no, it's 120, but in 3 years.
Exactly. So we just accelerate the student. Many of those students do our 3+1. It's called our Keast Morgan program. And so they add on a 1-year MBA at the end. And so many of our students are graduating with an MBA in 4 years because
That's
they
incredible.
accelerate their degree. And when you have an MBA, you've just, increased your earning power. And our families and students love this. I will say parents are probably more interested than students, because students are thinking about how much fun it's going to be to go to college. And,
Their parents are going MBA. You could get a job anywhere with an MBA.
exactly. You can
get to
support
work.
me in my old age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that the 3+1 is very popular with families and parents.
Mhm.
And it's the reason some undergrads come to us. But, these are 18-year-olds. And if you've read anything about Gen Z, today's 18-year-olds are very different from, many, many years ago when I was an 18-year-old. And so another thing that I've been doing on my own, but also in leadership at the college, is really asking people to understand and embrace the needs of Gen Z and Gen Alpha coming along right after them, because these are students who are, they're digital natives. They never were without digital technology, the internet, all those things.
Nope.
This is the AI generation. They've got mental health challenges.
Yeah.
They're really upfront with what they're facing. Students will tell me, I have autism. Students will tell me, I have a learning disability. When I was a kiddo, when I was that age, we weren't talking about that. And so one of the things that one of the directions in which I'm leading the college is to be ready to accept all these students and to be known as a place where, if I have ADHD and I'm an 18-year-old kid, I will be supported to a degree at Thomas College.
Yeah.
And so I want us to be known as that sort of school where you can get this degree, even if you are facing some challenges with learning, because we have the supports in place to help you get through.
Now you're finishing your first cycle for a year as college president. Talk to me a little bit about what the journey has been like. Maybe one thing that you thought is exactly the way you expected it to be, and one thing that has hit you sideways where you go, that is definitely not what I was expecting.
So the thing that was really in line with what I expected was challenges with enrollment, discount rate, revenue, all those things, because that's everywhere. In fact, when I came into the institution, I just had my first anniversary on November 1st. Thank you. When I came into the institution, we had welcomed our smallest entering class in, recent history. And that was, pardon me?
Oh, yikes. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yikes. Although I took this job knowing that.
She's like, I'm only going up, right?
Exactly. Well, and we did. But I knew that the financial aid, the FAFSA debacle of the 23-24 academic year really impacted people who couldn't just afford to pay out of pocket, which is
absolutely
almost all of our students. So I was assuming that very small entering class was the result of the FAFSA debacle.
Yep.
I think that was partially right. But we pulled every lever we had from the time I was on board through, this summer. We were still, bringing the class together. Our incoming class this fall was 29% larger than our incoming class last fall.
Outstanding.
And overall, our enrollment was up 3%, which I think in this particular landscape of higher education, being up 3% is like being up 50%. It's a celebration. On the other side of the coin, the thing that you can never know, no matter how much research you do, no matter how many people you talk to, until you are within a culture, you can't really understand it.
Yep.
And so, there are aspects of just the college culture that I wasn't aware of. And though it has taken me a year to really understand, this is what's driving this group of people. And you really have to be, it's almost like an ethnographer to be curious about the culture that you've entered. And, you know, there are pros and cons to every cultural, you know, type. And I actually have been looking at, we're a Clifton Strengths campus. So I've been looking at the aggregated scores of our students when it comes to the Clifton Strengths Finder.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been really helpful for me in learning about what kinds of people are drawn to this community and why they're drawn. Yeah, it's been fascinating. So, you know, I have done my Clifton Strengths, you know, so I know that my top strength is achiever.
Mm-hmm.
At Thomas College, the top strength of our student body, our whole student body, by far, is a relator. Relator is part of that relationship building cohort of strengths. Achiever is a very different kind of strength. And so what I'm trying to do is learn more about this community and what kind of strengths we have and how I complement those strengths and how I can really help people leverage the strengths that they have for their own, you know, to optimize their own growth, but also so I can understand better how to relate to the community.
Yeah, no, that's great. And, you know, it's funny you mentioned the until you're in it, you don't know. It's the truth. And one president said to me at one point, there's a organizational chart, and then there's also a power chart, and it's sometimes different than the organizational chart. Like the who has influence may not be the people who are wielding it or that you think have it, and all of a sudden you try to do something and you didn't really understand that power structure, and that initiative fails because you didn't know who the influencers were and everything else. And sometimes it takes a while to figure that out. And you know, I go back to something you said you want to be ready. You want to be the institution that's ready for all these different types of students.
Yes.
And then there's this thing where, you know, you have to stay ready to be ready. To get the institution ready, sometimes there's culture change that has to take place, especially as you come in with a new vision as a new president.
Right.
How has that process been for you? Learning the culture, figuring out how to navigate that power structure internally, and getting people moving in the direction that you feel is best for the institution to be ready.
Well, I mean, I'll be honest, there have been some bumps in the road.
Yeah.
Because not everyone wants to change culture. And I think if I learned anything during the pandemic, I learned a lot of things during the pandemic, but I learned something about myself during the pandemic that I hadn't known before, which is I like change. I think I find change exciting. What I didn't know is that I don't think that's as common among other human beings as I thought it was. Yeah.
It's definitely.
So I have experienced some of that at the college. The first thing that I did when I came in, literally 2 weeks after I was hired, I brought the whole community together in a town hall and just sort of gave them my best SWOT analysis at the time. And we immediately kicked off strategic planning. Because the college had a strategic plan, but it had been sort of extended during the pandemic. And I think that happened to a lot of institutions. There wasn't a lot of really optimistic strategic planning happening when your workforce was remote, nobody had childcare and all of those things. So I wanted to immediately get the whole campus engaged in strategic planning. And we did that. And I thought it was very inclusive. People showed up for you know, plenary sessions. We had feedback forms. I started that process with the student and I ended it with the student. So Student Senate was my first meeting. Student Senate was my last meeting.
Smart.
It was, I mean, I thought it was smart. I think the students appreciated it. But all of my efforts to be inclusive and to really bring everyone to the table did not result in everyone feeling included and did not result in everyone being as excited about the new plan as I am. So, you know, that's just the truth.
Yeah.
Because the plan includes a lot of change.
Yeah.
And so my job now is to basically go on a marketing campaign.
Yeah.
for this strategic plan. And I can't just expect everyone to be rah, rah, yeah, let's change, even though I might find that exciting.
Nope.
I have to say that, you're so much better at it. I mean, I was in higher ed I work for an ed tech company, Ellucian now, which for the last year and change, but I was for 24 years in higher ed institutions. And there isn't one time when everybody was on board for change. And to your point, it's like I looked back on my career and go, man, I spent so much time trying to convince the 20% of people that were never going to be convinced. Instead of spending all that time on the 80% of people that were either on the fence or already there. And that's just true, I think, of people. There are going to be some detractors. There are going to be some who get on board. And what I think not everybody sees is sometimes the urgency of the change that maybe you see as a president, or you're hearing from a board, or it's like, a conversation can sound something like, hey, look, we better make some changes around here or else we're going to be, left behind. And now you've got to go and execute that along with the vision of the board. It's not like you can go, all right, everybody, here's what me and the board talked about. It's like it has to be partially yours and your vision and your execution. The board's saying get it done. Not everybody has that insight, and that's what makes it extra hard. And even if they did, do they care? And that's the hard part about change, isn't it?
Let's go
to insightsedu.com. Remember that URL, because let's be honest, how much of what you're doing at work right now is actually working? It's time to inject fresh ideas and effective strategies. And Insights EDU is for these leaders that want to see results. The conversations are direct. The sessions are outstanding. And the people in the room are there to solve real problems, not protect the status quo. Insights EDU 2026 is February 17 to 19 in Fort Lauderdale. No fluff, no recycled playbooks, just what works now. Register today at insightsedu.com. Ellucian Live 2026 is taking place April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado. Advancing infinite possibilities. Turn innovation into action with AI-powered solutions, student-first strategies, and a global network of fellow leaders at Ellucian Live 2026, higher education's premier global technology conference. It's going to be
amazing.
It is. And, I also am always cognizant of wanting to inspire people with the potential and the positivity and the optimism, rather than scare people by saying, if we don't change, and then insert dire prediction here. I think some schools are seeing those dire predictions come true.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely right.
I did not go out to our community when I was first hired and say, X number of colleges with fewer than 1,000 students have closed since 2018. I didn't want to begin there, but that is true.
Yep.
And I think colleges that don't look at what's happening in higher education and take stock of what I perceive as a real reckoning for higher education. Colleges that don't reckon and don't say, wow, we have to hear people, we have to listen to this narrative that's out there, and we have to respond to it. Those colleges are not going to be there in a few years, especially if they don't have the name recognition. Mm-hmm. I'm in Maine. Bowdoin, Colby, and Bates are going to be fine. They are institutions with that name recognition, highly selective. But colleges like Thomas that seek to educate, that we provide access to education. We're trying to keep our costs down. We're trying to educate first generation students. We're trying to educate students who might struggle to succeed at a big school like Ohio State or Stanford, just because you can get lost in those numbers. We are the schools that really have to demonstrate the value proposition above all. Yeah. And so that is why the change is and was urgent, and remains urgent here. Every day that I have a platform, I'm out talking about Thomas College's ROI, because that's the only thing that will help us rise to the top in all the noise of all the other colleges' marketing plans that are out there right now.
Tell it like it is.
You said really a lot of important things in there, and I want to note, and I think most people who are listeners of the Edip Experience know this, but it's easier and cheaper to structurally be designed to be selective in a lot of ways, because your student is more likely to progress.
Absolutely.
If they're coming in and they've got straight A's and they've got privilege and they've got money and they've got all these things, you need less services, you need less, because there's a different engineering. If you're taking first gen students, students from lower economic backgrounds, students of color who haven't experienced college before, your entire infrastructure changes. The cost structure changes because you need more services. You need more specific types of services. You need more retention focus than you might have had with a different demographic of students who come from who are going to be selected into a college. It's a very different type of structure, and takes focus, energy, and change. You can't just do it. You can't just do it because you say you're going to do it and say, okay, we're just gonna be ready for more first gen students. There are actions that have to be and structural pieces that have to be put into place in order for you to succeed doing it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, the first net new position that we added after I was hired was a full-time support person for our students with disabilities. So now we have a full-time disabilities coordinator, and that is driven by our desire to say to students before they even have to ask, would you like to know more about accommodations? We've also done some professional development for our faculty around universal design for learning. I don't know if you know much about UDL, but universal design, it is an excellent pedagogy for students who have different kinds of learning challenges, because, if you need your students to know the 5 causes of the Civil War, students can demonstrate that learning in a wide variety of ways. It does not have to be in a 5-paragraph essay or a 15-page research paper or what have you. But higher education is a radically traditional field. It is not,
Jenny, come on.
Small C conservative. There's a brilliant service learning coordinator I used to work with who once said to me, Janine, the disciplines discipline. And it was mind blown, because I'm a classicist. I've got the most disciplined, I've been disciplined the most by this profession. But this woman taught me something in that one phrase, which is that higher education is not accustomed to leading innovation. And yet here we are all claiming innovation. So it's, we're not prone to do this kind of change, but UDL, universal design, is something that can help many more students get across the stage of graduation than could have gone across that stage 50 years ago.
You may, you're taking my talk track out of my. By the way, as I've transitioned to ed tech, I have all these new words I use, like talk track. And have you heard anybody say let's double click into that issue before? And I went, double click? Like my mouse is, I just do single clicks. No, I guess it means like drill down. So I got all this new vernacular.
Deep dive.
Yeah, exactly. And pressure test. Do you want to pressure test that?
Oh, yeah.
But when you think about that, and the idea of this change that needs to take place across higher ed, and the brontosaurus sometimes that we are, the talk track that I taught when I go and do speaking across the country, which I do often, is the Blockbuster Netflix. Nobody wants to talk about it, but Blockbuster was a single model. Stores all over the place, physical inventory, you had to go there. And all of a sudden this streaming service where, it's sort of delivered to you when you thought about getting off the couch, and all of a sudden you didn't even need to get off the couch anymore. You just could be lazy in your chair eating potato chips if you really wanted to. and just evolved, and you starting to see that, okay, maybe higher ed won't be the same in that way. You know, we have online, we have CBE, we have all these different models, but how do we take that idea of and move that idea forward? You know, if we are thinking blockbuster, how do we create the Netflix experience, even if the student is still in front of us? How do we make it easier for them to navigate things? So, to your point, a 3-year undergraduate degree accelerated plus an MBA plus a guaranteed job placement. That to me is Netflix, more Netflix.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty convincing, at least to the parents or the families in the room. Even if, you know, if I'm talking to a junior in high school and I'm talking about an MBA and a guaranteed job, they're probably glazing over. But yes, we have to. I mean, I've been trying to lead Thomas from two values that are really not glamorous, and those two values are pragmatism and accountability.
Yikes!
It doesn't sound very fun, you know, pragmatism and accountability, but what that means is I am trying to be clear-eyed about what we're really facing. Like, AI is here to stay. We're not going to get away from it. Online education, yes, it's here to stay. We have to teach our students how to use technology, how to be fluent in that. But because Thomas is a small residential place, I think we're known first and foremost for the welcoming nature of our community. Students choose us because of our community.
I bet you it's like safe, right? It's like a safe. So like as a parent, you want to send your kids somewhere where it's safe when you know they're going to be taken care of.
Someone said to me that whenever they're on campus, this is an external partner of ours. She said, when I'm on campus, I never see a student walking alone. I've tested that theory. It doesn't work all the time. I have seen students walking alone, but it is true that our students tend to be very they clump together and they are always with friends and that makes them feel safe and connected and all those things. So we don't do a lot of online teaching because online options are everywhere. When students are coming to us, they are choosing not online. At the same time, these students are going to live in an AI world. So if you're 18 years old today, your entire life and your career, everything that you experience is going to be more and more influenced by AI. Yeah. So we might not be teaching many things online, but we are teaching students how to live and study and work and manipulate in that AI world. And I think that's absolutely, it's a necessity at this point.
It is because they're there on campus. And when they graduate, they're going to go to a physical job, most likely. I mean, they may work remote. Many people do. But many of them will have to go to a business.
Yes.
And that business is going to say, so, you know, John or Jane, what did you learn AI-wise while you were in school? Like, what kind of capabilities do you have? You know, let's get you some new skills, but also, like, what's your foundation? And to have that student go, well, I didn't learn any AI at my college. Like, you think about preparing them for the workforce, you're talking about exactly what needs to happen. They must learn it while in school. They must conceptually practice, be able to understand how to use it, because the job is going to say, what do you know?
Well, I've done a lot of I've sought a lot of PD myself on AI. You know, my favorite thing to do is translate Latin poetry. So I'm not interested in AI at all.
I don't know if there's a real use case for that.
Oh, Latin poetry is so useful. It's just useful, you know, for the mind and the soul.
For a classicist, it is. For I don't know. Yeah.
So I am not naturally drawn to technology or AI, but I've sought professional development for myself because I need to know how our students are going to be asked to use it. So I went to a session at the ASU GSV conference out in San Diego last year, and I was listening to some computer programmers talk, some people who write code, and they were saying we have to be able to use AI because AI is writing basic code. So now I know our students who study computer science, they have to have that higher order. How do I take code that's been written by AI, correct it, make sure it works, compile it, and then write my more advanced code on top of it. So that, I mean, that profession, the whole computer science field is just changing before our eyes. And so we have computer science at Thomas College. We've got to keep ahead of that and prepare students to go out and work in the real context.
Yeah. I always think too about the outputs. We're designed for papers. That's how we have always worked. Okay, about this topic, write a 5 to 7 page paper on blah, blah, blah. It's like, boy, if I was in school, wouldn't I love, now would I use AI to write my paper? No, but I'd use the outline for it. I'd probably write it and ask AI whether it was good or not. I'd probably stick my faculty bio in there or previous feedback I'd gotten from that faculty and say, grade this paper as if you were my faculty member so I get a good grade. There's so many mind-blowing ways to use it. And all of a sudden the learning goes to the front instead of the assessment of the back end of the learning. It goes to the front end. How did I create this 5 to 7 page paper? What kind of prompts did I use to get there? What programs did I piece together? It's the shift in how the critical thinking is shifting from the back to the front as we use these AI programs and use cases as like Legos in a way to fix the Rubik's Cube. We got a messed up Rubik's Cube and we know the end. We know how to get to the end, but we want to outline how we get to the end. And that's the fascinating part about this.
Well, and I think the irony of all of this, so as a classicist, everyone loves to make fun of classics when I'm in the room, which I kind of enjoy. But as a classicist, what I see is those old-fashioned skills like critical thinking, things that are taught by the traditional humanities, critical thinking, analysis, separating fact from fiction, like thinking about fallacies and logical inconsistencies, all of those things, not to mention like ethics and compassion and empathy and all those things, those are going to come back as things that human intelligence brings to artificial intelligence. And every time I talk about AI, I like to remind people the A stands for artificial. It's not real. It's not innate human intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. So what I am kind of thinking about, Joseph Aoun, who is the president of Northeastern University, wrote a book called Robot Proof. It's a few years old now, but in that book, he was trying to imagine what careers would be robot proof. And so you can just insert AI. Yep. I always think about the basketball coach here. Can you imagine a robot doing his job? 100% not.
I was at the dentist yesterday getting my teeth cleaned 2 days ago. And I said to the lady, I'm like, she's been doing it for 5 years. And I said, I think being a dental hygienist is AI proof. Would I want AI in my mouth cleaning my teeth? I'm not sure. I mean, so you're right. Yeah. You start to think about that, which careers are going to be enhanced, where humans still will dominate, so to speak.
And there are. I mean, I started teaching. As a grad student, I was teaching in 1994, 1995. And back then, there was a lot of content delivery.
Yeah.
That was part of what teaching was. There's still some of that today because some of the content that students need to absorb is very difficult for them to understand initially. So they can't just read and magically know it. But I do think professors are going to have to adjust to a world in which what they're doing with the time they spend in the classroom is much less about delivering content and much more about skill development, helping students sort through all the content that they have access to, helping students distill and determine what's important, what's true, what's not true. And I think this will be very difficult for faculty across the board because the discipline's discipline. Yeah. And so how do you figure out as a teacher what you're doing with those 75 minutes on Tuesday and Thursday? Because it's not going to be giving a lecture on, the intellectual history from Socrates to Plato to Aristotle. Anybody can just Google that. And
Oh no.
You Google that. Yeah.
remember when we were told not to, we were told at a certain point, don't use Google when you're doing research. Don't use
totally right.
Wikipedia. Okay, well, we use Wikipedia all the time. Everyone uses Wikipedia all the time. It's not a scholarly source, but it's so useful. I used it today to prepare
and
for
it's mostly
this.
right. Most of the time.
It is. It's mostly right. It gives you a great overview. Yeah.
What else? We do want to bring you back for a quick subscriber-only episode. We're going to ask you just a couple questions about your leadership and about the future of higher ed. But I want you to take us home on this main episode. Give you an opportunity just to speak from the hip. Anything else you want to say about Thomas College? Anything that you feel like we should have highlighted that we didn't? Anything that you just want to reiterate or say? Really, anything you want. Take a couple minutes.
All right. Well, I'm very proud of a couple of things that we're doing at Thomas that are pragmatic and that hold us accountable. We are about to sign a contract with Open Doors, which is an NIL support program. We will be, I think, the only college in Maine, New Hampshire, or Vermont to say yes to D3 students who want to explore this. So
Nice.
We will have that platform in place. I think the contract is in my inbox right now to sign.
Okay. Now we're
So
talking.
I'm really excited about helping D3 students, and not just athletes. Any student can use this platform to learn how to curate their name, their image, and their likeness into a potentially profitable business opportunity. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I respect that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
the other thing that I'm very proud of is that we are Maine's only JED campus. So JED is through the JED Foundation. We are a JED campus, and we signed up for this program that helps us assess our ability in supporting students in mental health. And they take us through a program of assessment and development and programming. And so that's the way that we're really leaning into supporting students with mental health challenges at Thomas College.
Well, I love it. I hope you had fun too.
I had a great time. Yes. Have me back anytime.
Yeah, it's good to open things up a little bit and just go, you know what, this it's hard. It's not, it's not easy work to train minds and get people out there when we have bureaucratic structures and everything. And by the way, a lot of false information around us about the value of higher education that we still have to fight. That's the idea here at the EdUp Experience, scaling the number of voices that are out there into a single platform so we can put these things together. And we appreciate you coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, she's Dr. Janine Tittle Uzi. She is the president of Thomas College. And you just EdUp'd. All right, everybody, we're back with Janine for a quick subscriber-only episode. Janine, really just two quick questions for you. How do you say it? If I knew then what I know now. A year later, you just erased the last year and you're stepping into your job for the first time tomorrow. What are a couple things you would do the same and a couple things you do different now that you know? Yeah.
When I came in, there was some urgency around the budget that I didn't really have a choice. I had to, make some tough decisions when I came in. If I had the opportunity, if I had less, or if there had been less urgency, I guess I would say, I would have taken more time to sit down with people, have lunch, have those conversations. I didn't really feel I had the luxury of that. Of that
too,
time.
Isn't it? You're new.
Yes.
You're new and you got to go, hey guys, I got to cut 10 people out of their job because not to say that you did that, but that there are presidents I've talked to that have done that where on day one they had to do this or week one. And it's like you're trying to gain the trust of everybody so they don't feel like you're coming in to do these things, but you don't have a choice because,
Well, and I think I might have, because it was the case that we had some tough budget decisions to make.
Yeah.
I think looking back, if I had been more, I wasn't hiding anything, but I think if I had been clear with the community about the challenges we were facing, they might have come along more willingly And I was trying to protect the community from being scared or being worried. And I didn't want to lose employees who thought, wow, this is scary. So, looking back, I might have erred more on the side of saying, listen, this is what we're facing. This is real, and we have to do some hard things. And instead, maybe I overprotected. And if I could go back and have a school where there was a year to take a listening tour, I would totally do that. So I didn't have the luxury of a year listening tour, but I would say if you're a president listening, a new president, and you have the ability to take a year to listen, absolutely do that.
You know what? It's funny that you say that, because very recently I was talking to a president who is saying, and I can't remember who it was because I interviewed so many, but I can remember what people say. And it was he's saying, you can't do those listening tours anymore because there's no time, because the urgency is so high to make change right now to keep the model going that luxury has disappeared, and a new president has to jump in and sort of get their arms around things a whole lot faster. And boy, wouldn't that be nice to take that year, but those times may be gone for a while.
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah. And, because if you can do hard things, having already established the trust of the community, then everything goes a lot more easily. Sure. So when I came in, I was a provost for 10 years before I became a president. And in my first provostship, I inherited a college where there had been millions of dollars of cuts, and people were just grieving. And I did have the time. I sat at my table with faculty and staff for maybe 2 years. People cried. Yeah. They told me how sad they were, how hard it had been. And then I was I built that trust with them. And then when we had to do hard things later, they were willing to go along, So, but you're right. This moment in higher education, we don't have that luxury.
Well, one luxury we do have is to be able to take an hour and this extra time for our subscribers to get a little extra insight from you, Janine, and the work that you're doing, passing your first year. That's obviously huge. There's going to be 100 more bumps in the road in year 2 and year 3, but I think getting through that first year is so important to be able to say, hey, look, I'm here to stay. I think getting through that, presidents are leaving so fast sometimes. It's like getting through that first year. It says, I'm going to be here for a while, so get used to it, community. But it sounds like you got a good one. And Janine, thank you for being here and giving us, some authenticity and transparency into your work and highlighting the great work at Thomas College.
Thank you so much, Joe. It was a pleasure.
All right. She's Dr. Janine Diddle-Uzi III. Standing ovation of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a subscriber-only episode of the Edip Experience podcast. You just upped.
Attention.
Let's talk for a second. Higher ed is moving fast, and not everything we're doing is keeping pace. Either you move with the future, or you get left behind. Insights EDU is where leaders find out what actually works. February 17th to 19th in Fort Lauderdale. Register at insightsedu.com.
Attention.
It's time to register for Lucian Live, April 19th through 22nd, 2026 in Denver, Colorado, advancing infinite possibilities. And it's higher education without limits. Don't just keep up with change, lead it. Higher ed leaders from around the world are coming together at Lucian Live 2026. Across 4 unforgettable days, you'll discover new ways to meet students where they are and make the most of your technology through inspiring sessions and hands-on demos. Together, we're leveraging AI to create deeper human connections, support every student's journey, and open doors to lifelong learning. See you in Denver. Register now at elive.elucian.com.